to the Prophecy Club, where we study and research Bible prophecy. Our topic tonight is the arrival of the Antichrist. Our speaker tonight is uniquely qualified in that he was raised in an Illuminati family for 20 years. He's also a seventh-generation witch. He attained the degree, third-degree witch, and for the last 18 years, he's been speaking out on it since he met Jesus. Will you help me welcome Doc Marquis?
As usual, the one thing I'm praying for is that I'm able to put all this material in the time that I've been allotted. So far, I haven't succeeded once. So if I start moving faster than light, it's only because I'm trying to get all this material in on time. And I'm praying that the camera people will bear with me because I'll be going back and forth to the screen constantly. Now, one of the most common questions people ask me is, how did I get in this mess to begin with? It wasn't my choice. I was raised in an Illuminati family. When I was 3 years old, this is where they brought me to a special ceremony in which I was dedicated to the cause of Lucifer. Now, this is not unusual because in other religions, you will see people bringing their children to their churches, their synagogues, wherever, to have them dedicated to God. In the occult world, they dedicate their children to Lucifer or to Satan, depending on which branch of the occult you're from. In my case, it was to Lucifer. For the next 10 years, I remained in what's known as the outer court. Now, this is best understood as the Illuminati's seminary training ground. This is where you're learning all the religious beliefs, the practices, the rites, the rituals, different spells, incantations, the 8 nights of human sacrifice, all the Sabbaths, Yatzbats, so on and so forth. So by the time I was 13 years old, I was fully initiated as a member of the Illuminati. Towards the end of the ceremony, what they did, they brought forth a book that was made out of lamb's hide. They took a ceremonial knife called athame and they cut my arm wide open. I was passed a quilled feather, and I had to dip it in my own blood and sign my occult name in this book. This book is known as the Book of the Dead, as opposed to what the Christian Bible calls what we have is the Lamb's Book of Life. If you're going to understand the occult, understand it in this way. Everything is based upon a reversal or a counterfeit principle straight from the Scriptures. To this very day, Satan has never had an original idea, and let me tell you, he never will. I'm allergic to podiums. I'm afraid that God may decide to call me to be a preacher. So I stay as far away from them as possible, and in this case, when I have to stand behind them, I will stray as much as possible. So for the next 4 years, I was learning the ins and outs of the Illuminati, just like anyone else in there. Except in my case, I also had 169 years worth of family history that I was also learning. So by the time I was 17, this is when I was initiated as a third-level witch. Generically speaking, it's known as a master witch, or what's properly known as a high druid priest. This gave me automatic authority over a region. Now, a region is the governing area in which an Illuminati has full authority over. In this particular region, we had over 1,000 Illuminists within it. A year later, under orders from my bosses, and I'm going to tell you right now, I was under orders. This was not my decision. I joined the United States Army. There was an ongoing plan since the mid-60s in which the Illuminati were infiltrating military bases throughout the world. The reason they were doing this is because they wanted to gain access and control over all the forts throughout the world. Now, if you can gain access, of course, to these soldiers, let's say you set up a coven at a particular base. You recruit the people from communications, from supply, wherever. If these people are in, and they're one of you, well, because they're one of you, you have access to what they have access to. And we're talking about some very high-level secrets now. But because they were one of us, they would just bring all this stuff over to us upon demand. Now, when I was in Fort Lewis, Washington, this is where I first started my first coven, if you would. This was Fort Lewis, Washington. About 2 weeks after I got there, I had easily 20 people already recruited. Now, a couple of months into this, we already had at least 100 people at that point. I was basically walking down the street minding my own business when this associate stopped me. It wasn't anyone I really knew too well. It was just someone I happened to have bumped into every now and then. At the end of the conversation, he asked me what I thought was a very ridiculous question. Would you like to go to church with me on Sunday? Now remember, this person was an Illuminati witch. We practice the rites of human sacrifice 8 times a year. We stay in constant communication with demons. And he asked me, would I like to go to church with him on Sunday? Well, I can't repeat exactly what I said because of decency, but back then you can only imagine the way I said no. But I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is for the next 3 years, it was hell on earth. Because no matter where I went, no matter how far I went, and I went far, some born-again Christian had my name. I mean, they were falling out of trees, they were jumping out of bushes, and I know I saw a couple jump out of a couple of vehicles once, and they were moving. And it was non-stop. It was like this for 3 years. I mean, it was eventually to where I was getting paranoid. I was looking on, over my back, in the mirror, seeing if someone put up one of those funny signs, get this person saved, he's a witch. And because of time, I'm going to abbreviate this, but at the end of those 3 very long years, I saw what I was doing in light of what the Christians were telling me. So on April 15th, 1979, which happened to have been Resurrection Sunday then, I walked into a Christian church and I admitted I was a sold-out slave of Satan. But God be praised, for almost 18 years I've been a born-again child of the King. And that's when my life really became interesting. Shortly afterwards, I decided to go to Louisiana Baptist University, Shreveport, where I wanted to get my Christian education. When I was in the military, I did get, my college degree. But right now, I figured it's about time I go into the Christian world, get my Christian education, see what this was all about. This was only about maybe a year and a half after I was saved, something like that. Poor Jimmy Thorpe. That was the chancellor of my university. And I gave that man every gray hair he has to this very day. I did. I admit it. I mean, he had it coming to him anyways. Oh, he did, honest, because the first thing he did, on the very first day he met me, he said, young man, I have 2 lists. One of them is a president's list. You get a 3.50 average and above, you'll be on that list. You get on my nerves, you'll be on my hit list. I looked him dead in the eye and said, and I'm going to be on both of them. And I was. And to this very day, I think whenever I get anywhere near the university, Jimmy just gets another gray hair.